Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Mark from PowerSonic and Apprentice 121. Today we have got a different but exciting one. You can see we've got the scaffold tower out. We're going to be going up to swap one of these LED lights. We've had one start to flicker and go wrong. We've got a new product on the channel to share with you from Xcite lighting. It's an LED non-corrosive IP65 light fitting that we're going to swap up into the others, and I'll show you how we do that through the course of this video. Before we get into all of that, I wanted to talk about the college drops that Apprentice 121 are doing pre the end of this year. We've chosen 5 or maybe 6 colleges that we're going to go out to alongside industry and provide equipment to those training providers to hopefully help them impact in a positive way outcomes for those going through training. And we've had lots and lots of support coming towards us for that. The NIC have come forward with around £12,000 worth of books. Give Energy are coming forward with some inverters and battery storage systems. IMO DC isolators, I think we're getting a batch of those. Just today, I have also had some support come in from Ideal Industries, so I'm going to see exactly what that is. And we've got a little selection of bits and pieces down here. Again, coming in the post today from Proteus, and I think this is from Ian, who is an absolute legend at Proteus Industrial. What a man that is. If you've not been on the Proteus tours and spoke to Ian, you really need to. The bloke's a superstar. But we've got these Proteus rotary isolators, and I'm not sure if they're actually secret or not, but they'll look familiar to those of you who've watched the channel before. And we've also got an MCCB enclosure. So this is a 160 amp 4-pole MCCDB, complete with adjustable Type B ELR. So that's an interesting one. We'll show that in a bit more detail on the channel. We've also got some bits and pieces that people have provided, so safe isolation kits, equipment. These are normal electricians who bumped into me at trade shows to pass on. These stacks are full of RCBOs, MCBs, connector blocks. We've got some Centaur t-shirts. We've got a PAT tester. We have got a multifunction tester, so 1730 down there. We've got hand tools, basics like your conduit accessories, cable. Darren at CEF gave me all of these tech cards, so they're all going to go out to the colleges as well. We've got, we think, around 65,000 quid's worth of stuff to get out to these colleges, which is super exciting. The Solax as well, Klein Tools, Super Rod. I'm going to forget brands, so I don't want to start listing them, but TIS, Modexsoft, the companies that help us out week to week all through the year, they're all part of this as well, and I'm excited to get those bundled up and out to those training providers. So just a massive thank you at the start of this video from me to everyone who has played their part in that. Apprentice 121 has just been a thing that's gone on this journey from linking people into employment in the very early days of COVID, when people were at home not knowing what on earth was going on, and apprentices sadly were those who suffered the fate of losing their jobs before anyone else, to where it is now. And those job link-ups are still going on. I shared a few things on my socials last week, so we're in the week of the 21st of October as this has been recorded, and still putting people into employment, which is super cool. I was hopeful the industry of things was going to kind of come forward with a mechanism of their own, and it still hasn't quite happened. I don't know why, but maybe that'll come forward and do a lot of this stuff anyway. It's certainly something I don't have time to do for the long term, but I am still making that effort to keep going with it when and as I can. And this, supporting colleges, again, we've got our own little space here to try and impact, but I've always been very clear that we won't compete with existing training providers. We're not setting up as somebody running block release training in competition with FE colleges. I don't see that as a productive way to impact and help the electrical industry going forward. I could very easily make a quick buck for myself by creating a training centre on the back of the profile that has come alongside doing Apprentice 121, but that isn't me. I'm not doing that. I do run little things where we help people coming into the renewables industry or trainees who are missing certain aspects of what they've done in their existing education, fill in some blanks, and people who maybe haven't got access to varied roles in their employment. We're doing all of that, which is hopefully impacting successful outcomes for those already with trainers, but we're not competing. And that's what this is about, giving back some of the funding and goodwill that comes towards and through Apprentice 121 straight into FE education. None of the brands are paying to be part of this, apart from what they're donating to the colleges. There's no seminars and such that we're issuing in any of those training establishments. We're not asking to put display boards up, talk about Apprentice 1-to-1. It's literally me coming with a van full of stuff I've got and arranging deliveries from those as well involved, because I can't logistically take battery storage systems and solar panels. Calidus Wholesale, that's another one, who are giving some solar panels and such. I can't get it all in the van and take it, so there will be deliveries alongside that as well. But that is what it is. Anyway, waffling loads at the start of the video. Don't want to do that. We're going to dive in, go on the scaffold, see the super cool Xcite light, and I'll catch up with you all, probably watching Matthew and Nathan assemble this before I have a go myself. So you can see we are working fast. Now this is sped up a bit because putting these scaffold towers up does take an element of time. And it's important when you can to work as a team in doing it. It helps having Matthew on said team because he is 6'6" and has a long arm reach. You could probably have reached this light without the scaffold tower in truth. And yeah, it's just refreshing our own minds as we go through. Having a few people there looking at it is also a double check in sensible thought. Because sometimes when you're working on your own, you can take steps that other people might spot from a distance that you shouldn't be doing. And there are one or two instances of that through the course of our videos. And just to say, none of it is educational. It is just showing what we're actually up to day to day, and there won't be perfection in and amongst that. Look through it so you can see the various components you typically get in an LED light. This is the old one. I'll show you the brand is. Powerland. That's really just the driver. Robus. So this is a Robus IP65, and it's the RSU 4805 foot TFT, so it's a 5 foot 80 watt 5000K colour rating. We'll compare it to the light we're fitting in its place. This is 80 watts. Let's see if we can get the lumen output from it. I'll try and dig the data sheet out so we can do a bit of a comparison of how the technologies of LED are moving along. And that's kind of the argument with all of this. It's, you know, it's lifespan of this stuff. We're now doing work on this because we've had the age-old problem of these flickering, and we've still got another, how many we got up here? 1, 2, 3, another 5. And I was in an hour of just swapping them all, but it's getting access to, and we'd have needed like a little lift cherry picker type basket to get up to that one, just because we've put a great big building in the way. Could have got to everything else in fairness, just about maybe, but we're just doing the one. It's false economy if you ask me, but the financial powers that be helping run this space said to just do one, so that's what we're doing. But yeah, going back to the actual point, you can see you've got basically got a metal strip that's earthed. We've got an old style connection block, but we'll forgive it that because it is a few years old now. And then you've got the mains coming off the fitting that runs into these two drivers, so you can see them splitting in there. The drivers basically convert your 220 to 240 volts AC to an output voltage of 30 to 40 volts DC, and the current is 1000 milliamps, basically 0.28 amps, and then they run off the output of those inverters back through to the other side for what is essentially LED strip. Is either just soldered on there, and you've got two strips running the full length of the actual product. So it's pretty basic in what it is really. Bit of metal shaped to size, mounted with an earthed frame, running through a couple of drivers and then out to your LEDs. Now the non-corrosive aspect, you can see we've got a plastic cover that's going over it, and we've got a little washer in there with these clamps on, stainless steel I believe, which help hold the lid on. You can see the lid itself. It's all like kind of vapor trying to stop anything getting in and out of the fitting. And they're a really good solution for in warehouses like this, unheated spaces. You know, you're unlikely to be seeing moisture ingress on them. And you can see with this one, having been up there a number of years, absolutely nothing, which is a good sign. You get your stuffer on there, which looks to be, I'd say that's a whisker variation of old. But yeah, we'll have a look at the new light that's going in its place. So this is the Robus, and we're going to pop something a little bit brighter, and I think it's lower power. I'm going to double check that, and we'll see what's in it and how that all looks in comparison. So this was just an old dog wanting to have a go at putting the scaffold tower up on his own, more out of stubbornness than anything else, to show that it is possible, as daft as it is to try and do it on your own. But you can see here, if you get the ends up against a solid surface, you can lean one up and then attach it to the other one, making sure you get your cross arms linked across in opposite directions on each side, if that makes any sense. And your kind of horizontal straight pieces are used to hold it into position. You can see I popped a little temporary one on there just to keep it straight. We've already made sure our feet are leveled and we have got that on firm and solid ground. You can then pop the higher next level up, for want of a better expression, and again pop a holding piece on there just to keep it locked into reasonably secure position while you get your cross arms up and over. And then those cross arms need to kind of zigzag their way up through your scaffold tower, and then your straighter bits are used to kind of make it a little bit more rigid and build frames for people climbing it to be safe within. That's the important aspect to all of this. It's making sure you are safe while you erect it and also safe when on it. Watch some content of Matthew and Nathan building this tower together. It is much easier with two people, but we also wanted to show that you can do it on your own. An absolute push is not advisable and should never be working on your own anyway, but with these scaffold towers you can get away with doing it on your own. It is very hard work and potentially dangerous. Bear that in mind. We've had the delivery of the replacement lights. I'm going to unpack this now and we'll see what it is. Come in a little bit closer and have a look through it, and then we're going to jump up there, pop it up and see how easy it is to install. Obviously taking full account of safe isolation. For those of you who want to see a safe isolation procedure, there is some videos on the channel already. I'm not going to include it in this one, but take it as a given that it is done. Just to prove we have bought it, it's not gifted by CEF, it's something we paid full market rates for, and this one is an Xcite LED light. I'll pop it down on the scaffold tower, bring you in a bit closer, and we'll have a little look at it. You can see we get a detailed instruction manual, and you can get these with both lux, time and sensitivity settings for microwave detection if you're wanting to use that. In this case, it's just a basic on-off, so we don't have any of that to worry about. You can see the fitting instructions, pretty straightforward. Comes as one. Release your clasps for the non-corrosive fitting again, and then remove your diffuser. Untwist the LED tray or gear equipment, whatever we're going to call it. Lift that away, pop your cable in with a stuffing gland, and then wire up accordingly. Reassemble. It's pretty straightforward. So we'll jump this up onto the scaffold deck, and I'll try and take you up there with me, and we'll carry on with fitting it. So I just realised I'd knocked the camera over, so you missed much of that. The perks of working off a scaffold tower, but I can show what we've got. We've got the hooks here. You'll have seen me fitting the little metal brackets on the back of this fitting. They do come with wall fixings and the little push-through connector for in the end here. I think you can see that just in shot. Comes with a stuffer as well, so we've got a stuffer in the end to bring our cable in. Connection point here, which we're going to do in a minute. Sorry about the wobbling, but you are kind of loose on the scaff. You can see up there with a hook, and then you can see how that fastens onto the back of the fixing. So there's these little metal brackets that go over. Hooks pop on, and then that's then locked on to the steel structure. We've got an existing outlet box up there for the cable coming out. We've got our flexible cable in there ready to fit in here. So you get these little supports that kind of sit onto the fitting to hold it in position. We've got our driver here doing its stuff, and then we've got another one over there as well which holds the fitting itself. Now, I didn't realise that you can rotate these, so I should have rotated that the other way so it hangs open properly, but I'm making it work, and it's easy enough. So if you make the same mistake as me, you don't need to take it all down and start again. Now we just need to wire it up basically, pop the diffuser on, and that should be it, job done. If we look at the driver itself, you can see it's pretty straightforward. So again, you've got your mains in on one side with the earth, and then you've got your power out on the other side. I don't have my glasses on to see what power rating that is. I will try and read it. 230 in, and oh crikey, 24 volts out I think that is, but I'm reading it upside down and without glasses, so forgive me if that's not right. Otherwise, that's it there. I'll pop you down here. You may wobble about a bit, but we'll get this wired in. Make sure we pop everything in the right order. We may need a little bit more cable feeding through, so we'll just do that. And away we go. Again, I wish I brought my glasses up, because these kind of fine stranded wiring points are a struggle. Let me shuffle you right along. Try not to make you kick back. I'll just drop you down a bit in height. It might stop you wobbling around so much. So pop the lever down. We may need to rake these ends off. I'm going to give it a go. And again, I'm working blind to a degree. Okay, so they will go, but we're going to give them a little trim. Give them a nice twist up. Because it's a cage clamp, you don't need ferrules. If you want to ferrule, you can. Sorry, not cage clamp, is it? Push a lever connector. Get my words out. And I really can't see anything, Jesus. At least I'm not colourblind yet. Right, done. You'll probably get a better picture of that than me because I've not got my glasses. So I'm going to jump down. We need the test set up here anyway to run through and get a test value. So I'll go and grab that, we'll get some glasses, get that, and then I'll start popping it back together and catch up with you at that stage. So in terms of popping it together, these non-corrosive fittings are always fun because of the clamps. Let's see how we get on with this one. We'll get them out of the way first and pop the light fitting in. Trying not to drop it. Push it through the little clips that will hold it in. Let's get that end. Let's just go in the way of those. That's got that end. So that was fairly easy as a first step. We know that's not going anywhere now. Make sure it is seated correctly. Give the stuffer a little nip up. But for now, this is where I knocked you over last time. I'll drop you down again. Well, I say knock you over, you fell back on the scaffold and was looking at the ceiling. I don't know if that footage will be salvageable. We shall see. All right, so we need to get our clips out the way now. This is always the fun part. Make sure they're all in position correctly. You can see one that isn't. So let's pop that one out if it will. There we go. So they're all out now to a point. So we'll pop this up. In from one side. Get it something like. Grab hold of the thing. And then see how we're lined up. One each end to start with is my usual method. That was surprisingly easy. They normally don't go that well. So it's either I've got lucky or Xcite have got a little trick there in the way it all pushes together into the clasps. Thing to check is you've got it seated all the way around. Everything looks to be in properly. So do have a walk around each side. Make sure you've not blade out anywhere because you don't want to be coming back up to put things right when you've got the opportunity right now. They should all be in the right position, and it looks to be. Down each side, I'm happy with that. So we need a little cable tie on our cable here. We can pop some power on and see if it works. And there you can see it lives. That's a nice, easy, simple, straightforward swap over, and we've now got a non-flickering light up there from Xcite doing its stuff, and it's blended in quite nicely with the other lights as well. You can't see the LEDs in that one. If I take you over here, you can see, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but you can see the actual LED diodes, for want of a better description, whereas that one, you can't. it's just diffused as light. So I like the look of those better, small subtle difference between the two, and yeah, otherwise, happy days. And another good feature that I like is the 100% recyclable materials. So there was no plastic packaging in this at all. The fixings came in a little paper envelope, and then we've got the cardboard outer box. You can see it's suitable for high humidity environments. It's a grey polycarbonate body, and it's got an opal diffuser, stainless steel clips, and 140 lumens per watt efficiency. So that is right up there, and yeah, going to chuck that in the recycling now, and that's good that we're not contributing to waste within the life cycle of a new fitting at the very least, and we can get this older one put back together, and hopefully with a new driver, good as new and working again. So just to quickly mention about the scaffold platform and working safely on it, you should never be doing that as lone working. You should always have somebody with you, and there are other people in the office at the minute with me. They know I'm out here doing this and I'm not on my own. I did just want to prove the kind of point that an old dog can still knock these scaffold towers together on his own should he decide to, but it's not an advisable method. It's much easier, safer, you know, and just better to do it with at least another person. When you're working on it, you need to make sure you're following your RAMs, your risk assessment method statements. That'll vary based on the kind of terrain and environment that you're working in. So in here, there is no one else in the warehousing space, it's just me. It's a dead level, rock solid floor. This isn't moving whatsoever. So I was happy this is a rigid platform to work from and didn't see the need for a harness. The other reason not wearing a harness is sometimes those what we might term as PPE, which are really when everything else has gone wrong, if you're falling in your harness is the thing that's protecting you, could get in the way and lead to more of a problem than one you are trying to solve. So in this case, reaching up to pop the little light on its brackets, if I've got a harness and strap on me, it could get in the way. It could make that task more difficult and more dangerous for me as the operative. So it is on a case-by-case basis. The other thing is to get your platform underneath the work area so you're in a reasonable reach of it to work safely. Now with this, I could have gone higher. We had the little half bits. It would have just fit, but I would have been slightly back further that way. So this is the closest I could get for safe working access. And to be honest, being underneath it like this is a lot easier rather than crouching down trying to get the wires in and stuff. It's still within easy hand reach to pop it onto its brackets. So I was comfortable with that. And again, an extra person while you're up here makes a lot of sense. But me being the silly old fool that I am, left them all down there to show that I can still do it on my own. You see I popped a helmet on. Really, that is just for when it's been erected so you don't make a mistake and drop a pole on your head. And also when you're coming through the hatches, they have a habit of dropping down on you if you're not quite thinking what you're doing and being as careful as you should. So it always makes sense to get a hard hat on. I would usually be wearing gloves as well. However, my work gloves are in the other van and that is not here with me. So I've had to go bare on this one. It's not something I would recommend. You know, there's no real sharp edges or anything I'm going to catch my hands on, but they are quite dirty just because of the nature of the beast. So that's something that I should really have improved upon. And likewise, all your other basic risk assessment for eye protection and stuff, if you're doing any drilling, things like that, you don't want to be injuring yourself. And then there's the tethered tool side of things. Again, if you're in a busy work environment and there's people around the tower, you're not going to want to drop anything on them, so you need to think about tethering of the material that you're actually working with or keeping it within the constraints of your platform. And the same with any tools and such. If you're going up to, I'm thinking more of powered access platform, where sometimes you can't get quite in under where you're working and it's a little bit outside. You're not supposed to reach outside, but it's things that happen out in the real world. Having a tethered tool makes a lot of sense. And the same if you were to kind of drop your croppers, for example. They may hit one of the poles and bounce off to the side and outside of the platform anyway. So having them tethered is no bad thing. But as I say, in this case, the worst that would have happened is they would have broken on the floor and I would have been very annoyed about that. But nobody would have been hurt. And yeah, I considered it not that much of a factor in this example. Obviously, there's things I can improve all the time, and maybe that is something I should have thought about doing on here. But again, this is the training space. I haven't got my full set of tools with me that I would normally have, and they're in the other van out on a job. I do have tethered tools. Obviously, working on scaffolding, doing solar PV, it's another factor again with people. Coming in and out of the houses is another example. They're not necessarily going to be aware of what you're doing up there, and while you can ask them not to come under the platform, that doesn't always play out. So we have those tethered tools. And yeah, that's kind of it. If you're on a moving piece of access equipment, so you've got a scissor lift or a boom or whatever, those obviously rock about, they move a fair bit. They sometimes are driven while you're in the basket, or certainly moved swinging around. You know, things are more likely to fall over. You yourself could be tipped out, so you need to make sure you do have a harness on in those. And then there's all the training for these things as well, so you need to be trained in how to pop up these scaffold towers to make sure you're doing it correctly and safely, and then you understand how to work on them safely as well. And it's the same for the powered access equipment. You need to do courses and go off and ensure you know exactly what you're doing. But that's just as a little side chat. It's not the purpose of this video, but while we've got the platform, might as well mention it. The light fitting itself is an absolute beast. These are, you know, the non-corrosive fittings have been the way they are for a long, long time now. So you have all the clasps holding them together, stainless steel, all locked into position, so you know that you're not going to have anything falling down later on. That's the prime concern. We're up at height. If this hasn't been installed correctly, you know, that can drop down. So while you are in here, make sure you get all your clasps in. I'm going to walk down and double check, because while I've been recording this, I'm not always as focused as I should be on what I am doing. So I'm going to have a good look down and make sure we've got all those with the glasses on. You've got your diffuser up there, and they're dead easy to wire up. You know, this is bread and butter electrical work. It's stuff you're going to be doing day to day. In terms of price point, I had a look at the Robus fitting, and I'm just using CEF because that's the wholesaler of choice. That exact fitting is still for sale now from Robus, and I think it's just over 100 quid. I think it's £110 plus VAT. This one from Xcite was £68. Now, the LED market space is hyper competitive. It's absolutely crazy. And I know as electricians, it's really frustrating because we see these lighting failures so often. And then we're going back to carry out warranty repairs and such. So it's one of those trade-offs where you want a reliable and reputable brand because you don't want to go back and swap it for free in 2 or 3 years. But it does seem to be very much hit and miss, whatever the price point on these fittings. I've done some research into these particular lights, and they went up in April 2022. However, this estate has been getting refurbished since 2019, and the batch date on that light is from 2017. So it left the Robus factory 7 years ago, and it's been in service for 2.5-ish. So whether that's acceptable, I don't know. These are local authority buildings, so they would have had a stock of lights while they've been renovating the whole estate. It took them 3 or 4 years. I think we were one of the last ones to get done. And to be honest, there was things that they clearly didn't do that they should have done. So who knows? But yeah, I'm going to keep that other one. Robus have been very kind, and John from Robus Education has been in touch. He's coming on the Renewables podcast to have a chat with us, but he's also hopefully going to sort me out some spares for that fitting, so we can keep that. And as any of these go wrong, if and when they do, we've got a spare one. And the idea of that is to just try and stop landfill and chucking this stuff in skips and as waste when they go wrong. Of the old days with your fluorescent lights, you know, you've had the option of chopping your ballast, your chokes, your lamps, your starters. You could usually diagnose what it was, and then it was just a case of getting access to them. But they were maintainable. You weren't chucking away whole fittings all the time, and whether that's better or not for the environment based on what's in these, you know, there's not a great deal in there. It maybe isn't that big a job to recycle it, and it's just as easy as you've seen here with me today to throw a new one up as it is to mess about with a starter or a ballast or whatever. So there's arguments each ways round. I hope you've enjoyed this video. There'll be links in the description to these fittings over on CEF's website, and you can go off and check them out. Xcite have a huge range of lighting. We've got another video coming on one of their products, which is a microwave 20 watt LED security light. And again, that's bread and butter electrical work. None of these are paid or sponsored. I know the manager of that brand very well. He's a huge supporter of Apprentice 1-to-1. And this is just a bit of kindness back towards him in his role. I'm sure it'll have negligible impact on the sales going through that business because they shift some massive volume over at Xcite. They're one of the biggest lighting manufacturers in the UK, and yeah, well worth checking out. Like I say, value for money from what I've seen in this particular light fitting is right there, and we will see how long it lasts. It's up now, so if it starts to go wrong, I will report back, and hopefully in 5 years' time, if I'm still here and we're all still on YouTube, we can celebrate the success of it lasting at least that length of time. If you've got any questions in and around this video, please do drop them in the comments below, and otherwise I will see you on the next one.